Tasha was just the new maid, barely noticed, barely trusted. But when she found the billionaire's daughter struggling to breathe, the mansion silent and no staff in sight, panic took over. No calls were going through. No help was coming. So, she did the unthinkable. Broke into his locked office, grabbed the car keys and a bundle of cash, and sped off with the girl. Minutes later, alarms blared. Security tracked her down, pinned her at the hospital, and had her arrested. But then, the doctor pulled Gregory aside, and what he said left the billionaire frozen. What happened next stunned everyone watching. Before we go any further, if this is your first time watching one of our videos, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring you even more powerful stories. Stick with us till the end. And if this story moves you, share your thoughts in the comments and send it to a friend. Now let's begin. Tasha Briggs didn't enter the Lancaster mansion like a storm. She came quietly, like a soft knock no one bothers to answer. It had been 3 days since she was hired. No one asked why she kept her shoes tied so tight or why her knuckles were cracked. They just handed her a mop, gave her the small bedroom for staff, and kept moving. The Lancaster estate was a fortress of white pillars and glass walls tucked deep in the hills. Its gates didn't just keep danger out, they kept stories like hers out too. Gregory Lancaster, the man who owned it all, rarely spoke to staff, unless they were carrying something expensive or breaking something more. He ran tech companies, traded stocks in 5 countries, and lived like emotion was a liability. His world wasn't cold, it was temperature-controlled. And then there was Vivian, his daughter. 10 years old, delicate as spun glass, cursed with sickle cell. She didn't talk much. Not to the chefs, not to the chauffeurs, not even to her father. Most days she stayed upstairs in the sunroom, wrapped in soft sweaters and silence. Tasha noticed. Of course she did. Vivian's footsteps weren't loud, they shuffled. Her smiles didn't last, they cracked like dry paint. But still, no one looked closely. They just kept her medication stocked, the rooms spotless, the food warm. That was enough. Tasha wasn't supposed to ask questions, but the questions whispered anyway. Why did the nurse leave early last night? Why was the girl trembling in the hallway yesterday? Why did no one flinch? On her 4th morning, Tasha carried a breakfast tray to the 2nd floor. She paused outside Vivian's room, knocked once. No answer. She opened it slowly. Vivian was on the floor, not unconscious, but curled up, eyes open, breathing shallow, arms wrapped tightly around herself. Tasha froze in the doorway. Not panic, not fear, just a heavy stillness. She placed the tray down and sat cross-legged, beside her. Quiet. After a long silence, Vivian whispered, "It hurts today." Tasha nodded. It wasn't world-changing, not yet, but something shifted. Downstairs, 2 older maids folded towels near the laundry chute. "I give her a week." One muttered, "She's too soft for this place." "She's seen struggle," the other replied. "And struggle doesn't last long around here." They chuckled. Tasha passed silently behind them, arms full of pillowcases. She didn't say a word, but she heard every syllable. That evening, the house glowed with gold light. Gregory arrived late. Vivian didn't greet him. He didn't expect her to. Tasha cleaned the upstairs study, her eyes flicking toward the locked office door at the end of the hall. Security sensors blinked above it. High clearance, off limits. Not her business. But even from outside, she could hear something ticking. Maybe a clock, or maybe time itself, running out. The next morning, storm clouds hung low over the hills. The mansion felt dim even with all the lights on. Gregory had flown out at sunrise. Zurich, Singapore, somewhere far away. Somewhere that didn't require him to say goodbye. Tasha moved through her routine, but something felt wrong. Vivian hadn't come down for breakfast. By 9:12 a.m., the head maid was fussing over a detergent order. By 10 a.m., the staff were busy preparing the patio for some investor dinner next week. Vivian, no one mentioned her. Tasha hesitated outside the girl's room, something tugging at her chest. She knocked twice, no answer. She opened the door and time slowed. Vivian was lying halfway off the bed, drenched in sweat. Her hands shook, lips dry, body twisted unnaturally as if fighting itself. The air smelled sharp, plastic and fear. Tasha dropped to her knees. "Vivian!" The girl's eyelids fluttered. Her breath rasped like broken glass. Tasha's hands trembled as she reached for the emergency call button. Dead. She sprinted to the hallway phone, dialed the nurse. Voicemail, dialed Gregory, 4 rings, then 5, nothing. Tried again, nothing. She slammed the receiver down. Downstairs, the other maids were laughing near the pantry. Tasha burst in, breathless. "I need someone, anyone, to help. We don't go upstairs without clearance," one interrupted, barely looking up. "She needs a hospital now." "We'll inform the estate manager," another said calmly. "That's the process." Process. Tasha's fists curled. She turned on her heel and sprinted back upstairs. Vivian was barely conscious now, her chest rising too fast, too shallow. Tasha's eyes darted down the hallway, to the far end, to the locked door. Gregory's private office. She had never been inside, but she had cleaned near it enough to notice something most wouldn't. A tiny keyhole above the doorknob, and the key. It always hung on a red tag beside the basement cleaning supplies, labeled clearly, "Do not remove." She didn't hesitate. Tasha bolted downstairs, yanked the key from its hook, and raced back. The door clicked open. The office was silent. Leather, glass, and money everywhere. Framed awards lined the walls. A wall safe sat to the side. On the polished desk, a Tesla key fob glinted under the light, next to a black clip thick with $100 bills. She hesitated, only for a second. Then Tasha scooped Vivian into her arms, muscles trembling, not from fear, but from the sheer effort of carrying a sick child half her size. She ran. Every corner of the mansion screamed at her, the cameras, the blinking lights, the unspoken rules. She didn't care. The front door flew open. She cradled Vivian like glass as she raced to the garage. The Tesla recognized the key instantly. The door hissed open, the white leather seats lighting up like a beacon. Tasha laid Vivian gently across the passenger seat, buckled her in, and whispered, "Hold on." She slammed the door, floored the accelerator. Tires screamed. Back at the mansion, alarms blared. Security monitors lit up red, unauthorized access, office breach, vehicle missing. Inside the car, Tasha's fingers were white on the wheel. Vivian's head slumped back, her skin turning gray. Tasha ignored the GPS. She knew the hospital she needed, not the closest, the best. Traffic blurred, horns blared, her heartbeat roared louder than the tires. "Hold on! Please, just hold on!" Behind her, 2 black SUVs peeled out of the Lancaster estate, tracking the Tesla's signal. She didn't know. She couldn't afford to care. The hospital's glowing entrance came into view. She swerved into the emergency lane, braked hard, jumped out before the wheels fully stopped. She flung the door open, unbuckled Vivian, and carried her like she weighed nothing, though every step felt like dragging a mountain. "Help!" she cried, bursting through the sliding doors. "Please! Someone! She has sickle cell! She can't breathe!" Nurses rushed forward, a crash cart rolling behind them. Vivian was lifted onto a gurney, her limbs too still, too fragile. "Parent or guardian?" someone asked. Tasha's voice broke, but stayed steady. "I'm the maid. I'm the maid." They didn't press, they just moved. Vivian disappeared down a hallway surrounded by doctors barking orders, and then silence. Tasha stood alone in the sterile white lobby, sweat cooling on her skin. The weight of everything crashed over her. She wasn't supposed to touch the money. She wasn't supposed to drive. She wasn't supposed to matter. But none of those rules had saved Vivian. Outside, tires screeched. 2 black SUVs flanked the hospital entrance. Estate security poured out, 4 men in navy jackets with radios on their shoulders. They moved fast, faces hard. "That's her," one pointed. Tasha didn't run. She didn't flinch. She turned slowly as they surrounded her. The cuffs clicked cold around her wrists before she could even blink. A nurse shouted from the doorway, "What are you doing? She brought in a patient." She stole a billionaire's vehicle and cash. "She's under arrest," one guard said, flatly. Gregory Lancaster arrived 15 minutes later, in a tailored gray suit with rolled sleeves and cold, calculating eyes. He walked in like he owned the hospital, and maybe he did. "She's in holding," the head of security reported. "Local PD is en route. We recovered the vehicle. Cash is being counted." "And the girl?" Gregory asked, stabilizing. "Barely got her in time." Gregory didn't answer. His jaw tightened. A doctor, mid-50s and calm but firm, approached. "Mr. Lancaster?" He nodded. "Your daughter has sickle cell. In a crisis, minutes matter. Seconds even. If that young woman hadn't brought her here when she did..." He paused. "She would have died." The word "died" seemed to hang in the air like a weight. The doctor's gaze was steady. "Your phones were off, your staff unreachable, your security protocol too slow. She saved your daughter. Not you. Not your systems. Her." The doctor turned and walked away, leaving Gregory silent. Down the hall, in a small holding room, Tasha sat cuffed, shoulders squared but exhausted. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. The door opened. Gregory stepped inside, alone. No guards, no lawyers. He looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time. Her eyes were red but steady, unafraid. He said nothing at first. Then he reached into his pocket, pulled out a small silver key, and unlocked the cuffs. "Come with me," he said quietly. She didn't move. "She's asking for you," he added. The hallway to room 214 felt endless. Gregory walked ahead, silent. Tasha followed, her steps light but unsure, as if the floor might give way. Inside, Vivian lay tucked under a sea of pale blue blankets, an IV dripping steadily. Her breathing was slow but strong now, her tiny fingers tapped against the blanket. Almost like she was counting something only she could hear. When she saw Tasha, her face lit up for just a second. "Tasha," she whispered. It was the only voice in the room that didn't demand anything of her. Tasha stepped forward and gently took her hand. Gregory stood back, watching quietly. Later, that evening, as the sky turned pink and the city lights blinked awake, something shifted. Gregory walked out of the hospital room, not as a billionaire, but as a father who had finally seen someone else step up where he hadn't. The guilt weighed heavy on his chest. By morning, the internet had already caught wind of the story. Not the truth, just whispers. Black Maid arrested for stealing billionaire's car. Possible kidnapping. People didn't wait for context. They fed on assumptions. But by noon, something unexpected happened. Gregory Lancaster's office released a statement. He would be making a public address that evening live. That night, cameras flashed. Reporters jostled for space on the Lancaster estate lawn. The mansion gates opened like curtains rising on a stage. Gregory stood behind the podium. No tie, no assistants whispering notes. Beside him was Tasha, no longer in uniform, but in a modest gray dress that someone had pressed for her just minutes before. Her hair was pulled back, her shoulders squared, though her hands still trembled slightly. Gregory took a breath, then spoke. "Last night my daughter nearly died. The only reason she's alive today is because of the woman standing beside me. She broke rules, yes, but sometimes rules are the problem. No one else acted. No one else ran. No one else cared the way she did. Tasha Briggs did what I couldn't, and the world should know her name. The crowd murmured. Cameras clicked rapidly. Effective immediately, Gregory continued, Tasha will not only remain in my household, she will never work as a maid again. I've created a trust in her name, and she will oversee our family's medical outreach foundation moving forward. Because if we're going to build systems that protect children like my daughter, they must be led by people who act, not just speak. Tasha turned toward him, stunned. Inside the mansion that night, the whispers were different. She's staying, one staff member murmured. More than staying, another replied. She's running things now. Tasha walked past them and smiled, not out of pride, but because for the first time in her life she wasn't walking on eggshells. She was walking on solid ground. Vivian recovered slowly, but each week she grew stronger. And every time she laughed, it echoed through the same walls that once overlooked the girl who saved her. They had called Tasha just a maid, but now she was the woman who rewrote the rules. And the billionaire who once didn't see her was the first to stand beside her when the world finally did. Sometimes the people we overlook are the ones who show up when it matters most. Tasha wasn't just a maid. She was the reason a little girl got a second chance at life. So next time you're tempted to judge someone by their position, remember what this maid risked and what she became. Real heroes don't wait for permission. They act. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs the reminder. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this one.